Hello, my name is Pablo Masidi, and I'm going to present some aspects related to smart device and UI, the flow that we decided to discuss during this course and talk about other UI resources, which are simple things but interesting, and we have added them in the last upgrades of version 16 and in version 15 and version 16. And I'm going to go over general aspects and tell you about the new features, and then Javier is going to tell you about maps and external storage and some other aspects of the IDE. So, with regard to the smart devices, you may have noticed that during the last upgrades of version 16, 15, and also in version 16, we changed the name of the object. What was called a dashboard is now called menu for the smart device. It's a simple name change so as not to confuse it with the other dashboard object that is included in the query part for the queries and the web. And we have added this object, the menu, which has some new properties. In particular, I'm going to talk about this one, the tab distribution, which is a tab that when we are working with a menu where the elements are going to be visualized as tabs, allows us to indicate how the distribution of the items of the tab will be. There are two options based in each one of the platforms. There's a predetermined behavior for iOS. It's fixed aside. That means that each one of the items is distributed uniformly along the lower bar. And for Android, it depends on the quantity of the items. If it's more than 5 elements, automatically it uses the scroll, and if it's less than 5, it is distributed uniformly. Something else related to the tabs. These are things that are going more power to the menu object because of some limitations. And now we wanted to give it more power. It's showing a lower tab in the lower part of the screen. Before, the predetermined behavior, which adjusted to the rules of design of Android, was to show in the upper part, for iOS. But now with the searches of material design, Android has a new concept, which is the navigation bottom. And with this, what we have is the possibility of having of showing the menu like tabs in the upper or in the lower part. And this we configured through the theme. In the menu, in the object menu, there is a class which is pre-configured, which is the menu, and then we are going to go to the object theme and to the class menu, and there we say which is the class associated to the tab class. When the menu is shown as a tab, the class associated is tab. Then we go to tab, and we can tell the position of the tab in the lower part or the upper part. So this is the way in which in Android we say where to show the tab. With regard to the main objects, not only the menu, but any object that can be defined as main, there are new properties you will see. Some of them have changed their values. For example, this Android had as predetermined value dark, and now it's light. And it can thus adjust to the new design of the command theme. On the other hand, there are these new properties. Some were elsewhere. For example, all of the configuration of the Android mapping or the Maps API used to be at the level of the generator. They were configured in the Android generator. as well as the credentials to sign the application. All these properties were generic and at the level of the generator. They were generic for that environment, but now they can be configured at the level of the menu. So it's a possibility of having different mains with different properties, and this requirement came up from various scenarios. In particular, the application signit, which was configured at the level of the generator, is now going to appear at the level of the main. And it's only when the compilation mode is in distribution mode. When it's in the development mode, it's not necessary to configure these properties. You can have a configured with map, and in that case, you are signing the application, you are using credentials that GeneXus itself puts at your disposition at your disposal. But when you put the applications in production, you necessarily have to change the compilation mode for distribution. Otherwise, in Google, you won't be able to publish your application in Google Play. And there, it's going to ask you to put your own credentials. You register. It's documented in the wiki what are the steps to obtain this information, and you put the credentials, because in the past, they ended up publishing with credentials that belong to GeneXus, which is not recommended. This with regard to the menu and the mains in general. Another interesting resource that we have incorporated in the last upgrades of 15 and in GeneXus 16 is the concept of animation. Animations are resources that are going to improve a lot the user experience and the user interface in all applications. These animations, especially the Lottie animation, is a library created by Airbnb, who also created an API, JSON, where we can download these resources and use them in our applications. Let me show you what we're talking about when we talk about animations. These are some animations. The interesting thing is that the Lottie animations allowed to export as other design tools these files. They create these animations and they can be exported with a JSON, which is a Lottie format. But we also have Lottie, like Lottie5.com, where we can download animations that are available to be used. You will see that there are many animations here, the most popular ones. So these resources, when we want to show that an action has been confirmed in order to create a static image or putting a GIF, which is not recommended, you can use these animations. It's a JSON file, which the designers know how to create. Otherwise, you can download it from here. And this site allows customization. For example, we can change the colors that we wanted to use. No, I don't want the orange, for example. I want blue, etc. You can change the design. And with this button at the bottom, we can download the file, and we're going to incorporate it to our cake. Once we have obtained the JSON that the designer has given us, we go to the files in the KB. Here we have the options of the files that are in the KB, and we import the JSON. That the file is available, and then we go to the object theme in order to create a subclass within the class animation, where we're going to say that this class animation is of this type, and we are going to indicate the file, which is the one that we have previously downloaded and is incorporated in the KB. Once we have that, we can use that image in our applications. How can we use it? Well, nowadays we can use it in this manner. One of them is through the animation view user control, which is in the controls palette. We can drag the control in an SD panel, and through the properties of this control, we have the animation view, we put it in our panel, and then we have some properties associated to that control, like for example the set animation, in order to indicate which is the animation that we are going to use. Here we are indicating that is the 10 class animation view, which is the one that was created previously. And the play is so that it starts executing this animation. There are other methods that are going to be associated to the control animation view, like for example pausing the animation, or even the play has a couple of additional parameters that are optional to indicate from where we want the animation to start and how long we want it to last, because there are animations that have the play and the pause. So maybe we want to have the play while we introduce the audio, and when it starts to be reproduced we can get the image of pause, but then when we pause it we can get the play button again. And we can have all this, and in one file we govern it, and we say in which positions we want it to start or to end with those additional methods. And you will see that they are available there. We can also tell it whether we want it to be in loop, always executing or not. And consider it as a GIF file where we have other properties and a much greater power. So this with regard to animation view and user control. And we can show this as a circle, and we have an animation that is predetermined in our animations. We can change this image for any of the Lottie files, and also when the application is uploaded we have the launch screen. And also with regard to the form or the grid, there are new properties associated to the form where we can indicate the animation class, and the same thing for the grid. Lastly, the progress bar indicator, which also has a predetermined animation, and we can associate a different animation through these files. So all these through properties in the corresponding classes. Fonts. Another interesting thing with the animations and also with the fonts is that all the resources that you need for your applications are incorporated in the KB itself. The font, well, if we wanted to use fonts in the past that were not predetermined in the device, we had to incorporate these files in the project and reference them externally, or have some tricks so that they would work, or copy it in the project folder. Now, if we need an additional font or a specific font, we go again to the theme, and we have this option, the theme font, and we can select which is the font that we want to import. In this case, for example, gameplay. We open it, and it's a font now inside our object theme. And then this is the button associated to the class, and we can say, for example, that the font family, which is to use the class of this button, is the one that we have just incorporated. So everything is referenced, everything is inside the KB, and makes things easier because we have there the Lottie, the fonts, it's all complete. We don't need to add additional resources from outside of the KB. So this is how it looks after we applied the font. And another interesting thing to level the SD with what we had for web is the possibility of creating components in runtime too. So in a layout, up to now, we could put an object component, SD component, but we had to reference directly the properties. We had a panel here, the panel game quiz, where you see a grid, and we had this component layout, and in the properties we told it what this object. Now you can use the create for the events in order to create it dynamically. So in runtime, we can choose which panel we want to choose in a certain section of our screen. The application GX21, that of the event, uses this concept in one of the screens because we wanted that according to the day, different kinds of information would be shown. For example, the preliminary list of talks, and then we wanted the talks to be shown differently when the event started. So when we published that knowledge base, you will see that there are some layouts that use this concept a lot, so that dynamically, depending in this case of the day, we change the information we are showing the user on that screen. So all this with regard to the UI resources that were incorporated, and which completes what you saw